This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. So I just had my little whirlwind, 2-month run around some parts of Asia and then into the States. So I was in Washington, D.C., New York, San Francisco, San Diego, Huntington Beach, Las Vegas, and back to Asia. That will just knock the living you-know-what out of you in terms of jet lag and just wanting to sit still. It's always fun when you do it, but it takes something out of you. Back in the saddle today, I want to cover some wide-ranging thoughts. At least they might appear wide-ranging on the surface. They all connect in my mind. There's a through line. I'm going to read some excerpts, and I think you'll see exactly where I want to go and what I want to get across today. First, I want to quote from Seth Godin, the author Seth Godin, a recent blog post that he had called The Candy Diet. And I'm cutting this short a little bit, but the point is clear. Quote, "The economics seem that the only way to make a living is to reach a lot of people, and the only way to reach a lot of people is to race to the bottom, seek out quick clicks, make it easy to swallow, reinforce existing beliefs, keep it short, make it sort of fun or prurient or urgent, and most of all, dumb it down." And that's the true danger of anti-intellectualism. While it's foolish to choose to be stupid, it's cultural suicide to decide that insights, theories, and truth don't actually matter. If we don't care to learn more, we won't spend time or resources on knowledge. We can survive if we eat candy for an entire day, but if we put the green markets out of business along the way, all that's left is candy. Give your kid a tablet, a game, and some chicken fingers for dinner. It's easier than talking to him. Read the short articles, the ones with the pictures. It's simpler than digging deep. Clickbait works for a reason, because people click on it. The thing about clickbait, though, is that it exists to catch prey, not to inform them. It's bait, after all. What I love about Seth Godin, man, it's obvious. He says the things that we're all thinking about in the deepest recesses of our mind, but we just sometimes can't outline it, phrase it like he does, and he does it so fantastic. I see this in my world. Look at trend following. Trend following is a strategy. It's a process. There's a massive amount of psychology behind it. Compare that to what? Most people want a guru. Most people want somebody to spoon feed them something that's absolute nonsense, absolute garbage that will never work. People pay for this. People pay thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, to be told utter nonsense. I predict X will happen on X date. Yes, literally, people do this for a living, get paid for it, and people love to pay for it. Now, who am I to criticize those individuals on the back end that actually want to spend their hard-earned dollars on nonsensical predictions that don't have a snowball's chance in hell to actually work out? I mean, all you can do is really feel a little bit sorry, a little bit sad for people that they're on the candy diet that Seth Godin speaks to. They've lost connection. They just want bait. How tough would that be? Logic doesn't work anymore. Reason doesn't work anymore. Just put bait in my mouth and I will chew on the bait. Which, as a side tangent here, if the vast majority of the population is simply looking for bait, that their lizard brain can't do any more than look for bait, my God, you got a leg up. If you actually have a system or a process, something like trend following or something like card counting in the casinos, if you have a process, you are so much farther ahead than most people, because most people are just not going where you're going if the where you're going is the desire to be successful. Let me take Seth Godin's wisdom and let me dovetail in Jay Forrester, MIT professor, recently passed away in his 90s, a brilliant man, cited by Ed Seykota as one of his mentors, one of the people that helped Ed to learn to think. I took this excerpt from his New York Times obituary. MIT professor Jay Forrester recalled in 2011 that he once asked students in an engineering class if they understood how the feedback mechanism in a toilet's water tank maintained the water level. Forrester said, "I asked them, how many of you have ever taken the lid off a toilet tank to see how it works?" He recalled. None of them had. How do you get to MIT without having ever looked inside a toilet tank? Plenty of people go to MIT and Harvard, and then they go through the rest of their life, and they're just looking for bait. They're prey. Somebody's looking to haul them in and fillet them. They don't have a system. They don't have a process. They might be highly educated, for whatever that's worth. I should add as a side note, I had a dinner with Larry Hite in December in New York City. A very cool place that I went to with Larry and my fiance. And I asked Larry at some point in the dinner, I said, "Larry, how many people, how many Harvard, Wharton MBAs come in your office? You have the conversation, you know, they got the pedigree, they got the resume, they got the CV, everything looks great on paper. But you finish that conversation, they walk out of your door, they walk out of the room, and you say to yourself, my God, that person was just stupid." Now, I didn't exactly get Larry to give some major confirmation in words, but his laugh, that gave it away. It happens all the time to a guy like Larry. It happens all the time to successful people. They see it on a regular basis. And that gets right back to Jay Forrester's toilet story. The MIT engineering students did not have the curiosity, the gumption to take the damn lid off the toilet to see what's inside. Let me take Seth Godin. Let me take Jay Forrester. Let me shift it to Jameis Winston, quarterback for the Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is quoting from Peter King, the sports writer. And he said, I asked Jameis Winston if he felt the Bucs were solid playoff contenders. Now, this is Jameis' response. Quote, "We're just trying to be 1-0 every week. It's so easy to think about the future, but it doesn't help you. I'm just trying to get better every single week, just like our team. The hardest thing about this league is, week after week, you've got to go out and start over and prove yourself. The best teams do that." End quote. Now, there's some very straightforward wisdom. There's actually two things going on in that passage. First, he's just trying to be 1-0 every week. So he's staying in the moment of right now. He's being very zen about it. He can't go out and say to himself, as the quarterback of the team, I need to go 5-0 the next 5 weeks. It doesn't work that way. He needs to go out and execute each play in each game each week. Now, at the end of 5 weeks, if you can look back and you're 5-0, hey, that's great. But you can't be worried about week 5 in week 1. Now, connect the dots to trend following on that. It's connected directly. You take the signal. You take the trade signal. You get in. You do not know what's going to happen. You can't predict what's going to happen. You take the signal and you wait. You execute and you wait. You wait for your stop to be hit. Your stop that either gets you out with a small loss or your stop that gets you out with a gain. That's the process. That's what you have to do consistently every week, regardless of domain, regardless of what you do for a living. Entrepreneur, trader, You need that systematic approach that keeps you in the moment of right now. Because if you're not in the moment of right now, you're right back to looking for bait, or you've become bait. It's a terrible place to be. But today, as I take the diverse examples, let me go from Seth Godin to Jay Forrester to Jameis Winston. Let me take it to Jared Kushner. You might not recognize the name. Donald Trump's son-in-law, married to his daughter, ran the Trump campaign. This bit of wisdom from Jared Kushner that I'm about to read, this is some brilliant stuff. Seth Godin's simplistic in its brilliance, trend-following brilliance, even if unintended. From Jared Kushner. We weren't afraid to make changes. We weren't afraid to fail. We tried to do things very cheaply, very quickly, and if it wasn't working, we would kill it quickly. It meant making quick decisions, fixing things that were broken, and scaling things that worked. End quote, Jared Kushner. Man, I really love that. From a discipline, a world, political campaigns that has nothing to do with trading. Nothing to do with trading, but everything to do with trading. Everything to do with making money. Everything to do with being a success in life, being an entrepreneurial success. Every last damn thing to do with it. Because he's talking about perhaps the most important issue, failure. You're going to have failure. If you're not prepared for failure, if you don't know what to do when you fail, you're going to fail even harder. Failing is just a cue, a signal that something's wrong. Take the cue, make an adjustment, get out, and look for the next opportunity. I read that article about Kushner. It's fantastic. I think it's in Forbes. Yes, it's in Forbes. It was the November 22nd, 2016 edition of Forbes. A great read. They basically A/B split test the Trump campaign. They were essentially taking breakouts. Notice when he says, scaling things when it worked, meaning if you find a particular advertising medium works, push it. I know a lot of people just want to think that Trump is some crazy guy that just happened to become the president of the United States. But as this article paints the picture of Jared Kushner's behind the scenes work, there was a system, there was a process, there was a mechanism. Now, that did not mean they knew for sure he was going to win. The election was close as shit. So it was a coin flip. I mean, really, it was a coin flip. He could have just as easily lost. But even if they lost, people would have gone back and done the autopsy, the postmortem on Jared Kushner's campaign running skills. Because Trump changed the game. He didn't try to adapt to the current game. He just moved the damn board pieces to an entirely different board game and said, we're playing over here, and it left everybody scrambling. Taking all of these examples into account, I've seen some writing recently from Nassim Taleb working on a new book. He has this phrase, intellectual yet idiot. Isn't it the phrase that we all just want to invent ourselves? Intellectual yet idiot. Because so many of the things that I'm talking about today, they might seem simple, they might seem straightforward when you think about them, but the vast majority of colleges and universities are teaching their students something entirely different. They're not talking about opportunity cost. They're not talking about sunk cost or confirmation bias or cognitive dissonance. None of that. Kids today are being taught to trust. Adults are being taught to trust. Forget the verification, just trust implicitly. If the TV tells you something, believe it. And don't even pretend to think that you can critically think around whatever issue has been thrown out to you. Just swallow it, and swallow it hard. But I had a real life version of Taleb's intellectual yet idiot. Just happened to me in the last few days. I'm working on a new edition of my trend following book. 100,000 copies sold, all going back to 2004. But I decided to go in and give this work, this book, open heart surgery to improve it, to add to it. Who knows? Maybe I'll fail. Maybe it will be a success. But I had to do it. In the process of copy editing, the publisher sent me back their version, their edits to my original. They proposed changes such as I had it written down as one-man shop. They proposed one-person shop. They did not like the phrase intellectual cripple. They proposed that I change cripple to paralysis. Now, before I throw my editor under the bus, I could see overall the skill of this particular editor. Fabulous. Super smart person. Very smart. Perhaps the best editor. I don't even know this person yet. I've not met this person, but perhaps the best editor that I've worked with in the last 15 years. I can see that level of skill. But this particular editor, either by his or her own choice or a mandate from the publisher, wanted political correctness. And there's where the intellectual yet idiot rolls right into the middle of the room. Now, of course, I'm not going to make any changes. That's not my cup of tea. I will think about their edits. If I've said something really stupid, I don't want to offend. Well, actually, I do want to offend some people. But overall, I don't want to offend the people that like my work. So I will always take a look. And I did take a look at these edits, and there's nothing I want to change. But I hope you see that through line and where I'm taking you today. Starting with Seth Godin and going through his perspective on the candy diet. Looking at MIT professor Jay Forrester just shake his head at his students not understanding how a toilet works. To see Jameis Winston understand that he must be in the moment of right now in the National Football League or he will fail. To understand how Jared Kushner moved the Trump campaign to the place where it could possibly win. And they did win, of course. To see so much of the world unable to think about these great little examples of the proper way to make decisions in our life. And to realize that Nassim Taleb is just completely spot on, nailed these folks with the phrase intellectual yet idiot. And for me to wake up and just have a chance to see that reminder. Because look, sometimes we all think this political correctness stuff, we think this is a CNN story. It doesn't really happen to us. You know, we're not on college campuses necessarily to see safe spaces and all that kind of stuff. But I can safely say with the edits presented back to me, the copy edits presented back to me, I was asked to make my book not be politically incorrect. Now, you can probably imagine what it's done to me. I will reread the entire text, looking for places to make it even more politically incorrect. Guaranteed. In fact, I have to worry about my own self right now. I have to worry that I will not go in with that chip on my shoulder, that desire to even be more of a rebel and do something so outlandish that people actually do think I'm crazy. But these are the types of topic areas, foundationally, psychologically, philosophically, that you've got to have set if you want success. If you're listening today and you don't see it, listen again. Go read the articles that I'm talking about in this podcast. Look at the depth and try and look at the world each day, not for what you're being fed, but who's feeding you. What's their agenda? What's the propaganda? If you can keep your eyes wide open and keep calm, keep focused, keep your eye on the prize, everything becomes so much easier.
Amo, you magnificent bastard, I read your book!
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash, or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.